What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Rideshare Hub. My name is Greg. Hey, before we get started today, guys, I wanted to tell you about an app called GetUpside. It's a really sick app for saving money on gas, and it's legit, all right? This isn't like one of those apps where every month you'll save 1 cent per gallon, you know? The very first time you sign up, 25 cents off per gallon. Every time you refer someone for like the rest of your life, you're getting 1 cent per gallon off. So imagine referring 5 to 15 people and you're getting 15 cents off per gallon every time you fill up. Let's say you combine that with your Uber and Lyft fuel rewards. Now you're getting more like 25 cents off. 25 cents off per gallon every single time you fill up is like a lot of money, especially if you looked at that at like the end of the year. You'll be floored. If you are a ride-sharing driver, one of my fellow Uber and Lyft comrades, like there is literally not a single reason in the world you don't use this app. It is incredible. GetUpside, I left my referral code in the description. Check it out. If anything, utilize that 25 cents off per gallon. Let's dive right into it. So what I'm doing today is a video on basically, are we being cheated? I've seen this as like such a trending topic on like ride sharing forums, and a lot of Uber and Lyft drivers like really believe they're being cheated consistently. I've had plenty of times where I've really thought that as well. So I'm gonna go over with you guys some of my personal stories where I really believe I was cheated. And I'm gonna share with you guys like just what like some of the common belief is amongst like a lot of Uber and Lyft drivers. The biggest thing I've ever noticed is tips. I've constantly wondered if Uber and Lyft were taking my tips. I mean, you got to think to some degree we would have no idea. But in one scenario in particular, I picked this lady up from the airport. It was a really long, like 35-minute ride. I waited like 20-30 minutes for her friend who was waiting for her bag. Then I took them to Target. They cashed out at Target. They get back in the car. And so she's telling me, hey, I want to tip you well because, you know, you did all this for me. So she pulls up her app and she shows me that she's tipping me $10, which it's like, come on, like that's your way of really taking care of me for going 40 minutes out of my way for you. But anyways, whatever. She still wanted to tip me. So she shows me on the app, like, $10, how does that sound? I was like, hey, great, you know, thank you, have a good rest of your day. Check the earnings later, that $10 tip isn't there. Now, hypothetically, she could have walked out of the car, clicked cancel on the tip, and I would have just gotten the ride earning. I don't know. I just didn't believe it. So I emailed it to Uber and Lyft, explained to them the scenario. And they told me that what happened was she probably didn't have as much money in her bank account as she thought. And so she couldn't afford the $10 tip. Now, I just watched this woman buy a crap load of wine. She took like a 30 to 40 minute Uber. I drop her off at this real ritzy hotel. I'm not buying that she can't give me a $10 tip because it'll overdraw her account. Like, I'm just not buying that, right? But I just didn't think anything about it. You know, it's like one of those scenarios where, like, what are you really going to say? No, you're wrong. Give me my $10. They're not even going to respond to that. You know, they're going to say, oh, apologies, Gregory, and thank you for your high-quality rides and your high rating. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. You know, that's what they always say. So I've talked to a lot of people that have had similar issues where they are like very confident tips were taken from them. I've also just noticed, like, I've had so many people where like I really went out of my way for them. Maybe I waited like 20 minutes for them. And I've had people who have told me like, hey, I'm going to throw you $40 on the app. Like, thank you so much. Like, I'm going to take care of you. They could all be liars. All these scenarios, like for me, it's about a dozen times it's happened in the last 4 years. They could all have forgotten. I mean, there's so many possibilities. There really is. I just don't believe that. I totally believe that 9 of them were lying, but maybe 3 of them weren't, you know. I've just always been really suspicious, and it's always felt really, really fishy to me. So like, I really like honestly believe it happens at sometimes. I'm not willing to say that like Uber and Lyft are both trying to screw us and scam us. I'd probably be more inclined to say it's a system glitch that like just didn't register that money as a tip or something like that. I'm not going to sit here and try and defend them and say they're right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, I do believe it is something that does happen from time to time. This is the biggest one. that I've really ever seen is like, how much are we actually making? So I don't know about you guys, like I've always been told and I've always read on the apps that Uber and Lyft both take about 25% of everything we make. And that's always seemed pretty fair to me. You know, like you're giving me a customer base, you know, a whole clientele. Like I've never been actually opposed to 25%. I remember Lyft was at one point saying 20. Here's what's interesting. So there was a case study done. It was about 14,000 drivers. I actually participated in it as well. And we submitted like, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks of earnings. So it's interesting. This is what comes back from the study. Lyft, on average, from these earnings, was taking 35% from every driver. Uber was taking 30%. So the test gets done, and that's like the feedback. Uber and Lyft, both, is mostly Lyft, just went bonkers about it. And they're like, nah, you don't know how the company works, that's not even remotely accurate. And I'm thinking, I submitted my earnings pages. Like, there's really not much to it. You either took 25% of it or you didn't. There's no other data that goes into that. I drove X amount of miles, gave rides to X amount of people. This is what I made. This is what you took. Here's the percentage. Like, it's pretty obvious. Even so, that being said, like, let's say we do give them the benefit of the doubt and there is a bunch of system stuff, like it's still not what they're telling us. Like, they're telling us to take 25%, you know? They clearly don't. So it's interesting. So they totally bash this company that does this study. Say, oh, you don't understand how the companies work, So they said, okay, that's fine. Well, tell you what, give us all your data from all your drivers so that we can give you like a really accurate number and make sure what you're saying is true. Both companies refused. They didn't want to turn over all the drivers' earnings statements. So they want to sit there and say, no, it's 25%. But like right now, data's showing 30 or more. I've also noticed on individual rides, I've given Lyft rides before where it was a payout as if it was a primetime ride. I picked up a ride one time, totally normal. It was about a 5-mile ride, $65 fare. I made the normal, I think it was like $3. And I went back and looked at the ride and they were charged $65. And then it had this whole thing in there about it was calculating in a primetime bonus. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. And keep in mind, this ride was after Lyft supposedly got away from primetime. But it was 2 a.m. in a busy bar area that I picked this ride up. So right at Bar Rush, it was a Lyft ride. And it was a $65 ride. I got $3 on it. So I don't know. I emailed him about it, and again, it was like just some bogus excuse about, you know, their primetime rules or whatever it was. I mean, it didn't make any difference in my life, basically, right? So, and what's interesting is, like, if you read a lot of rideshare forums, like, you'll see a lot of drivers, of Uber and Lyft drivers, talking about this, and they're basically saying that, like, yeah, like, I've had plenty of rides where, like, I was told, like, I should be getting this amount, and I didn't get that amount. I didn't even get close to that amount. I just the other day gave, I think, a $12 ride that I got paid $6 for. And I'm not going to fuss about getting an extra $2-3 from that, but it was not 25%. Like, there's just not a chance it was. It's nowhere near it. So a lot of people believe that, like, they're at times taking more than they should. And to be honest, like, none of that would really come to shock to me. I don't know if you guys know this, but neither Uber or Lyft has turned a profit. Like, Uber, like, nets negative 700 million each quarter, on average. So, like, I wouldn't be shocked if they're taking more than they say. And to be honest, like, I wouldn't be shocked if there's another rate cut coming our way. I've also never really felt like it was clear when there was a rate cut. Like, that's not really a big issue. I may have missed the email. But, like, they definitely don't make it obvious that your rates have been reduced. Like, they try to sweep that under the rug and hope people don't notice. But the reality is, like, we're all going to notice that. But that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave the video at that. Like, this is just a good thing to be aware of. Stay on top of it. I mean, I do still email them every time things like this happen. And here and there, I get compensated for it. But, like, 99% of the time I don't. So keep that in mind, but it's just something you got to stay on top of with them. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Tons of good content coming your way. Be sure to check out that link for the Upside gas. Like, it is so worth it, guys. Like, I'm telling you, you 100% have to lock into that. So hope you guys are crushing it out there, and I will talk to you guys soon.